Hi gang, Rob here. It is the afternoon of 12 August 2020. Coming to you today with a watch review of this thing of beauty and a rather special watch to me. It is the Seiko 3rd generation Sumo in green. Model number SBDC081 or SPB103. A rather famous, iconic dive watch automatic variety from the Japanese kings of diving timepieces. The reason this one is pretty special to me is because it's my 50-pound watch. Those of you who watch my channel frequently, and if you don't, please subscribe, hit the notification bell. But those of you who do, know that for the last year and a half I've been on a bit of a fitness and weight loss project. I started at a robust 225 pounds on a rather medium 6-foot frame. I was fat. I was out of shape. I got winded going up the stairs from the basement to the second story. So weight training, a little walking, good diet. Culminated in June of 2020 when I tipped the scales at 175 pounds for the first time since, I don't know, a long time ago. This was my gift to myself. And man, it's turning out to be a pretty special one. Now, I purchased this watch secondhand on eBay from an American seller, and it is the Hodinkee Shop edition. So it came with this crafter blue green vulcanized rubber strap that I adore and the original bracelet. Came that way new from Hodinkee. I purchased it for a pretty good second-hand price, I think. And it was in nearly like new condition, I have to say. And I just love it. It is distinctively Seiko, isn't it? Absolutely. So, a little bit about the Sumo first. It is a large watch. A large watch, 45 millimeters in diameter. 52 lug to lug with a 20 millimeter lug width, but only a 12.9 millimeter thickness. You'd think 45 by almost 53, 52.6 lug to lug would make it wear large, but it doesn't. It wears magically Seiko-like, as almost all Seiko dive watches do. Let's get into the particulars here. It is the Generation 3 or 3rd generation Sumo. The changes from the 2nd generation Sumo are the handset. Come in a little closer so you can see. Kind of a simplified broadsword style hour hand. I think they left the minute hand alone, and the seconds hand I think stayed the same. The markers might be a little more svelte than the 2nd generation, but the main thing is that the font on the bezel is much less garish. I just never wanted a Sumo because I thought the bezel text was really ugly. So I was happy to see the Generation 3. And then they changed from hard Lux to flat sapphire crystal with underside anti-reflective coating. It's hard to tell in my crappy studio lighting. My lighting is really for knives. It doesn't work well with crystals on watches. I'm sorry about that. And then the big thing is the movement change from the 6R15 to the 6R35. The 6R35 is a 24 jewel movement, unlike 23 in most of the 15s. It does have bidirectional winding with the Seiko magic lever in the rotor winding system. It is hacking and hand winding. It runs, I believe, the Spron 510 mainspring, but the mainspring is tweaked from the SR or the 6R15 to provide now 70 hours of power reserve instead of the 48 or 50 you get with the 6R15. It is a 3 hertz watch. It beats at 21,600 beats per hour. Seiko gives us an accuracy specification of -15 to +25, but as with almost all Seiko automatics, especially the 6R series, it runs a lot more accurately than that. They're a strange animal. They have a 53-degree lift angle. They don't seem to work and play well with time graphers. The amplitude and the accuracy, if you put them on a time grapher, is usually all over the place. You put them on your wrist, though, you wear them all day, you put them away at night, and magically, they run very near perfect. This one has an observed accuracy, and it kind of depends on how long I wear it versus how long it sits in a day's time. But from 0 to +3 seconds per day, observed accuracy. I'm not complaining. One thing I noticed, and I think it's the length of the hand and the design of the seconds hand. Look at that sweep. Does that look like a 3 hertz sweep to you? It looks pretty smooth to me. If I didn't know what this watch was and what movement was in it, I would say it's an ETA 2892. So I don't know what magic Seiko is pulling here, but it doesn't look like the seconds hand on my 6R15 equipped Sarbo 33 at all. It just looks buttery smooth. I don't know. The case on the Sumo is rather an interesting piece of design work. I love Bruce Williams' review of this watch. He calls the case shape in this, from this aspect, a Reese's peanut butter cup squished down into a banana. It works though, doesn't it? I think it really does. It's got great curvature over the wrist. I noticed that 52.6 millimeter lug to lug length, it just wraps my wrist, and I've got like a 7 1/8 wrist. By the way, you know what? I had this all ready for you guys, and then I took it off to do some stills of the Sumo, but the wrist check should say Squale 50 Atmos Blue Opaco blasted case, review to follow with the factory Squale mesh. Not that anybody needs to know that. Where was I? Case. All right. We have a 120 click ratcheting unidirectional bezel, and it's got, frankly, the best Seiko action I've ever felt. You have to sort of grab it between the lugs. If you notice, it's partially shrouded by the case, which is super cool. So most of your turning is going to be done in that position. I don't know if you can hear this. I'll be very quiet. It's got a very muted, very hydraulic sound. No back play, and make sure I'm in position. I am. This particular piece has perfect 12 o'clock marker, chapter ring, and bezel alignment. I was pretty happy about that. You don't always get that with the Seiko. We have an unsigned screw down crown with pretty nice threads. I'm going to let it pop. It's got a great pop, and then I never need any back turning to get those threads to engage. It's very good. So when it pops, you've got hand winding. That's very smooth from that 6R35. You get a little bit of, you can feel the gears a little bit, but it's pretty good. First click out is very discernible. That changes your date. Second click out hacks and gives you hand winding. Traditional Seiko diver 4 o'clock crown position. Lugs are drilled and they are Seiko fat. Those of you who have been frustrated with generic spring bars understand what I'm talking about, or trying to jam Seiko spring bars through an aftermarket strap. You know they don't work. They're fat. What are they, like 2.5 millimeters? Finishing on the case, you have longitudinal brushing on the tops of the lugs. And then, I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but you have a polished bevel and a polished bevel and a little fine line of brushing in between them. And notice that side profile of the case. That's why such a large diameter wears so well on the wrist. The contact patch, sort of that watch is, I would imagine, 10 millimeters narrower than the diameter of the case when you look down on it. If you look at this line, I bet you that's only 35 millimeters between those two lines of the case. The case back has your Seiko Tsunami Wave, circular brushing on the case back, while the rest of the underside of the case is polished. Well printed with identification. The dial on this green Sumo, I like to call it the Sushi Sumo. Hulk just doesn't sound right, and it's been taken. But it is sort of the color of the seaweed you would find in a sushi roll. Before I get to the dial, and it took me a month to see this, I don't know if the lighting is going to reveal it, but you've got a deep green bezel insert, a deep green dial. The chapter ring is anthracite in color. Just one of those details that you pick up when you stare at the dial of a watch too long. It is a beautiful sunray green. I've got some outdoor shots to kind of show you what it looks like outside. But the color of this dial and the watch, it kind of changes from greens to blacks depending on the lighting. The sunray is absolutely gorgeous. The markers, which I think are a little smaller and more in proportion than the second generation Sumo, are either applied or embossed. I've heard them referred to in many reviews as applied. Random Rob, one of my favorite watch reviewers up in Michigan, he thinks they're probably embossed, meaning pressed out from the back side of that dial plate. I looked at them under a loupe and I can't tell. They're very tall and very straight. The sides of each index are very much at a right angle to the dial, so I kind of don't think they're embossed, but it doesn't matter. And then you've got Seiko Lumibrite applied to all the indices and the hands. Just the pip is illuminated on the bezel. You have a white date wheel framed in white with black text. Polished hands. All the text on the dial is printed, the Seiko logo, which it is also printed. Pretty standard for a sports or diving watch. I do love that second hand. It's sort of like a Yama shovel shape, but then it has like a syringe pointer on the end of it, which makes it super legible. And that is definitely one of the strong points of this watch, is its legibility. I kind of am a bit of a precisionist, not to steal a bull of a trademark, but I like to be able to see that my minute hand points directly at each marker when my second hand is at 0. I like to hack and set my watch to the second when I put it on. And this gives you great legibility to see exactly what time it is and make sure that your hands are aligned properly. Finishing on the watch is absolutely brilliant. Now, full disclosure, I have marked it up a little bit, and for you watch guys who are jumping over, I'm primarily a knife reviewer, and I sharpen knives and restore them for a living. So I've had to sort of fix my own mistakes a couple times in the polished areas. In my upper right lug, I've rebrushed and I got over into the polished chamfer between lug and case a little bit. So don't blame that on Seiko. If you can see it, it's my fault. But really, really nice finishing. I don't think it's got Zaratsu polishing at this price point, which is somewhere around 800 plus or minus, give or take, depending on where you find it and when. I also don't think it has DiaShield. I think I've seen some reviewers list that it does. I can't find that in any copy, and frankly, it hasn't behaved like it. So I think it's just normal 316L uncoated. Before I talk about this rubber strap, let's take a look at the factory bracelet. It is sort of that standard $500 to $1,000 Seiko diver bracelet. So it's set kind of a modified oyster with the chamfers between the 3-link design being polished, the rest of it being brushed. It has a female end link. Did I drop the pin? No, I didn't. Female end link, so that's going to help the wearability of that 52.6 millimeter lug to lug. All links are solid, including end links. It does use the pin and collar system for attaching each lug to each other. I know it's kind of a pain to size the pin and collar. However, it is the most secure way of attaching links in a watch bracelet. They can't unscrew and they ain't going to fall out. Okay, so it's a rather attractive bracelet. And then here's the clasp. You have fold over security, double pushers. The internals of the clasp, not milled. Wah, wah. And then it's got the, oh, I'm going to lose my end link. It's got the wonderful Seiko dive extension. You pull it down, you pop the watch out, and then you try to figure out how it all went together when you put it back. You have to grab the hook and then, there. Did I get it? I got it. Okay. Or did I? Did I get it? Yeah. It's there. A serviceable, functional bracelet. Not the best quality for a $700 or $800 watch, I wouldn't say. Let me put my pin back in so I don't lose it. Okay. And I frankly prefer to wear my dive watches on rubber or NATO. So this watch was, of course, that Hodinkee Shop edition. It came with this Crafter Blue strap. And man, do I love it. It is a closed-end fitted strap. Even if you didn't have drilled lugs, it would be easy to change because of the relief areas in the strap that expose the notches in the spring bars. A nice fine waffle texture. The thing I love the most about it is how close together the holes are. It just really irks me when I have a strap and one hole is too small and the next one is too big. Doesn't happen on this strap, especially since there's a little bit of stretch to it if you like to wear your stuff tight. You're going to notice, some of you who have done Hodinkee combo deals like this or have bought Crafter Blue straps, it is wearing a rubber keeper because I can't stand this thing right here. The steel pressed and folded huge keeper that comes installed on these watches or on these straps. It took me 5 minutes to put scratches in this. It's banging into stuff all the time. It sticks way out. They're horrible. Horrible. Seiko does them on their factory straps too. So that's the only thing it came with from Hodinkee. If you buy a Crafter Blue strap from Crafter Blue, they're going to send you both rubber and the steel. The Hodinkee combos only come with steel. So I contacted Crafter Blue, which was kind of easy, and told them what I had and what I wanted, and they sent me, check it out, they sent me 2 greens, here's the other one, and then I don't know why, but they sent me 2 black rubber keepers. So if I get another watch with a black Crafter Blue strap, I'm ready to rock. Or even if I get a Seiko with a factory black strap, I'm ready to make a swap, so that's good. I'm going to take you to a wrist shot now. I took some stills that I'll post up, and you can see, even though it's a large watch, how well it wears on my 7 1/8 inch wrist. And then I'm going to kind of turn toward and away from the camera so you can see how it lies, how well the case back buries between the 2 wrist bones, and how closely the lugs hug the wrist. It doesn't wear like a 45 point something millimeter Invicta. It wears like a proper large Seiko dive watch. So guys, if you're looking at a Sumo and you're thinking, man, I've got a smallish wrist, I'm not sure if I can wear that, I'm here to tell you, if you can wear an SKX or a Samurai, you can wear a Sumo, maybe better. It just looks great. It's ever changing. It makes you want to look at the watch. And this is certainly one of those watches where I wonder what time it is, and I hold my watch up to look, and I get lost in it and put my arm back down, and then I remember, oh, I wanted to see what time it is. So yeah, I think it's a super cool effort. And the thing I love about Seiko automatic divers is they've been doing them since the early 60s. They are iconic. They're not Swiss, but they're iconic in a way a Japanese company can be. Only a Japanese company can be. You guys know, if you follow me, I love my Hondas and I love my Seikos. Whereas a Swiss-made automatic watch might have its components all made in China by who knows who. Seiko, from case to movement to bezel insert to the lubricants they use inside the watch, makes everything. They make everything that goes into a Seiko watch. I don't think there's another company on the planet that does that. Does Rolex do that? I don't know. Does Patek do that? I don't know. None of the Swatch Group brands do, but Seiko does. And they do it rather well. Differently from everybody else, but rather well. That, my friends, I think is going to bring us to the end of this review. I love my Sushi Sumo. Makes me wear green a lot. I don't know, so if you're watching this and you're wondering if it's for you, if you need a green diver, this is it. That's all for this one, my friends. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Remember, the word is sharp, and God is always right on time. Talk to you soon.